Hi, my name is Rachel and today we're going to talk about my favorite adult fantasy books. These are all high fantasy books. There are other types of fantasy books that I enjoy, like fantasy that's like portal fantasy or fantasy that's like urban fantasy. That's not what I'm talking about today. Okay? I don't know what I'm doing with my hands. Today we're just talking about books that are high fantasy in the adult age range. Some of these I actually have physical copies of, so I'm very excited to pull them out for you today, and hopefully you can actually see them on the... Is my computer gonna work or no? You work or not? I'm pulling up the Google Doc with my notes in it. Now, I have read other fantasy books. I'm just gonna talk about ones that I've given 4 and 5 stars to. I think all of these have been like a 4 to 4.5. I don't think I've given any of them actually 5, but you know, I'm a picky bitch. What can I say? So we're gonna talk about my favorite 4 to 5 star fantasy books today. So first one we're gonna talk about is Mask of Mirrors by M.A. Carrick. Interestingly, M.A. Carrick is actually a a pen name for 2 authors who met on an archaeological dig. Isn't that cute? So this book is about a woman named Ren who is half Nadezhran and half Virginian, and it starts off when Ren is a kid and she is part of her knot, which is like a gang of kids, and she has this little found family within this knot, Tess and Sedge. And this is a book about class and colonization and politics. It's got a few POVs. Ren is just one of them, but she really is the main character. This is a really long book. It's like 600 something pages. It's over 600 pages, but it doesn't feel like a long book because it's so exciting. Ren left the city where she's from and then comes back as an adult after some bad shit happened when she was a kid, and she comes back as an adult, but she comes back trying to swindle her way into a noble family by pretending to be a long lost cousin. Ren is a con artist. She has always been a con artist, but this is like a big con that she's running, and it was so high stakes, and I was constantly rooting for her even though she's doing terrible things, but she's doing it to nobility, so I don't really feel bad for them. But there's so much other stuff going on because of the politics and the magic. This also has a really interesting, this by the way is set in like a, I guess it's like fantasy Italy sort of. It's so fun and it's so high stakes because she's constantly having to remind herself like exactly how to act because she's running this like long con where she is pretending to be the long lost cousin of this noble family. It's so intricate, this con that she's running. It's incredible. Oh my god. There's also a vigilante running around that she's like wondering who that is. There's a crime lord who has a pet spider. I love him. There is like tarot card reading, but it's got its own tarot system, but it's also got its own version of the zodiac in this world, and all of that was so intricate and so interesting how it plays out. I was just amazed. This really blew me away. This is my favorite. This is my favorite. This is so good. It's part of a trilogy. The second book is out. I think the third one comes out this year. I don't remember. It's just intricate and incredible and high stakes and keeps you on your toes and has some of the most unique and interesting characters. And again, I love a con artist, and I also really love like smaller cities where you're getting like the noble families scheming against each other, but having a con artist come in and try to just like fuck their shit up. Please. Next one, I just got a copy of this, thanks Allie, for my birthday. Ooh. It's The Wolf of Oren-Yaro by K.S. Vioso. So this is about a woman who is a queen named Queen Talion. She gets a message from her husband, and what I like about this is that this is a woman who has been married and has a child. We never see like mothers as main characters in fantasy, and that's what I really appreciate about this. She gets a message from her husband who left her years ago, and we don't know why in the beginning, why he left her. You eventually find out. They were from like different clans who are rivals, and they were supposed to unite the clans. He left her and she's barely heard from him, and she hears from him 5 years later, and he's like, hey, I need you to come meet me. She goes and tries to meet him. There's an assassination attempt. She ends up getting lost in a city that she is not from, and she has no way to prove her identity. She has no money. She has nothing, and she doesn't know how to get back to her guards. She gets wrapped up with a con artist named Kine, I think is how you say his name? They separate, but then they end up, you know, meeting back up. Obviously, I'm a big con artist fan. Can you tell? Like, there's running themes here. I feel like this is more about the characters than the plot. You're really sort of like stuck in this small area for a while with Talion as she's trying to figure out what's going on, figure out the assassination attempt, figure out why her husband contacted her, and it's a lot of like mystery that doesn't really pan out until the end. It's mostly just experiencing Talion, which is great because Talion is such an interesting main character. Nothing good ever happens to Talion though. It's kind of depressing, but in a good way. I think it's pretty high stakes. She's obviously like on her own and on the run and ended up in a really shitty situation, and I love it. And it's called the Bitch Queen Chronicles, which I feel like she could have been a little bit more bitchy, but she's pretty kick-ass and I love her. It's got some magic in this world. Her ancestors were dragon riders, but she's not a dragon rider. There's mages in this world, but they're not allowed where she's from. There's not a ton of magic here, but it is still high fantasy and I really love it. Next one I don't have a copy of, and it's one that Carlos and I both really like. It's Foundry Side by Robert Jackson Bennett. I read this years and years ago. I did end up reading the sequel and I liked it, but not as much as the first one. This is similar to you'll notice a trend here. This is also set in a small area where merchant families are fighting. In a city called Tavan, there's 4 merchant houses and they are all fighting against each other, but it's way different than Mask of Mirrors because of its magic system. In this world, all of the magic is like a written magic system. Basically, it's like a magic system that is based upon writing that makes objects behave in a way that normally they would not. So like you scribe a lantern to defy gravity, and it's based off of this alphabet left behind by this ancient race called the Hierophants, and there's whispers of even people starting to be scribed. Our main character is Sancha Grotto, although there are like 4 important people to this story. Sancha Grotto is not exactly a con artist, a thief. She's supposed to steal something, she does, but then it goes wrong, and she ends up having to work with this guy named Orso, Orso Ignacio, who's like this old grumpy man who's very well versed in scribing. His assistant Berenice, who Sancha has like a flirtatious relationship with in the first book, and Captain Gregor Dandolo, who is the son of one of the heads of a merchant house. At first glance, you wouldn't expect these characters to have so much depth, but my god, all the shit that you learn about them and the way that they interact with each other, they become like sort of this little family unit to each other, even though I'm sure they would not describe it that way. But the way that they interact with each other, their voices are all so unique and bounce off of each other in a way that is so satisfying to watch. I just am obsessed. Captain Gregor Dandolo is one of the most heartbreaking men to watch on page. That's really all I can say. And Sancha is so interesting. And also there is a another character that is a key. It is a key that is a character, and also that key can talk to scribed objects, which is so fascinating. And all of them get caught up in this political nightmare with all of these merchant houses, and it is so delicious. It's such a good book. The magic is so intricate, the characters are so good, the stakes are so high. I love that book. Another one, oh, I have a copy of this. Another one I really enjoy is Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. When you start this book, you might want to go into it knowing that this has a pretty heinous act of violence against a child, like physical, not sexual, but physical violence against a child, enacted against them by their mother for a religious thing. And it was horrifying, and it took me a while to start this book because I was so horrified by that. Once you get past it though, that character story is incredible. This is mostly about the characters, but it's in a really rich world with a lot of different religions competing with each other, sort of. There's a lot of politicking going on, but the people that we mostly hang out with are not people that are in charge. So there's Giala, who is a siren, I think she is. There's so many queer people in here. Serapio, who is this blind guy who follows this particular god, and then Narampa, which everybody loves Narampa, but I don't like Narampa, and she is the sun priestess, and people are always trying to kill her, and she has this not on again off again, she had a relationship with this non-binary character. Giala is I have a crush on her. Giala is she's also a captain of a ship, and something about women captaining a ship is just sort of something I become obsessed with. And the dynamic between, first of all, Serapio, I don't really want to tell you anything about Serapio other than there's prophecies and things going on in Serapio's life that have to manifest. But Serapio training, like his life coming like to where he is to the present day, the training sequences, so fascinating. Like I was enraptured by all that. And then the dynamic between Giella and Serapio, like it's doomed to fail. It cannot go anywhere. But my God, was I in it for the long haul. It's really hard to explain what this book is about, but it's like competing religions and prophecies and queer people and a really hot woman ship captain, and writing is beautiful. I highly recommend it. I don't know what else to say. The last one I want to talk about is The 100,000 Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin, and this was N.K. Jemison's debut. When I read it, I gave it like a 3.5, but it has sat with me for a long time, so I ended up raising my rating to a 4. It's a little hard to read, but once you accept that it is entirely character driven, you're gonna have a better time. This book is about Yena Dar, and she ends up, her mom dies, she ends up being the heir, and she has to go to the Sky Kingdom, and there's a lot of politicking going on and people wanting to kill each other, but really what it's about is just like watching Yena sort of like come to be who she is. And also the gods in this were so complex and interesting, especially Nahadoth. And eventually there's a sex scene with Nahadoth where apparently the dick was so good that they were flying through the cosmos. There's a lot of it's so much political stuff, and I can't really tell you anything without spoiling it, but basically it's just like people want to be in power and they're all out to get each other, and Yena's like, how the fuck did I end up here? And she's learning a lot about the gods and goddesses of the Sky Kingdom that she now inhabits. Really, I ended up just continuing this because I was reading it for book club, and because I was so enraptured by Yena and Nahadoth's connection, which was one of the weirdest but also one of the most, I couldn't look away. Like I couldn't stop watching what was happening because Nahadoth is not like a normal god. The gods in this are not written in any way that they're not like humanized at all. It's very odd, but there's something about it that you just like can't look away. It was very fascinating. So like this is a book that if you can stick with it will stick with you for the long term. That's it. Those are my adult high fantasy recommendations. Let me know if you've read any of these and what you thought of them, and let me know your favorite adult fantasy recommendations down below. I did also like Theft of Swords by Michael J. Sullivan, but I only rated it a 3.5. I just feel like all of the recommendations I just gave you have way better depictions and women characters in them, and like I kind of wish Michael J. Sullivan would do like what Robert Jackson Bennett did with Sancha. I wish that Michael J. Sullivan would do with like literally any woman character in his books. Okay, thank you for watching. Leave your favorites down below, ones that you gave 4 and 5 stars. And thanks for watching. I already said that. Okay, like and subscribe if you want to. You can also join channel memberships. That's a thing I do now. And Patreon if you want to. And I'll see you next time. Bye. Hello, it's me, Trash Can Rachel, and I have to say thank you for being a friend to my Therapy Bowls patrons, and those are Alexander, Alicia, Allie Magpie, Amanda M, Ashley B, Bubble Tea, Cami, Chris, Chrissy, Claire, Des Roberts, DJ Rocktopus, Emperor's New Blues, Eric, Tharor, Harley, Jack and Jill, John E, Casey McKenzie, Kate W, Caitlin, Kelly K, Quinn, Lady Kittybug, Lex, Molly, Alice, Peggy Lou, Rain, Reese, Samar, Scarlett, Shiny, SMK. Thank you all so much for being a friend. And before I go, I have to say thank you for being a friend to my Potato Starch Marxist patrons, and those are AM Angel, Amanda, Andy, Angelica, Anita, Artie the Ninth, Ashley H, Aubrey P, Ava, BB, Beck, Blythe, Bookish Barbie, Bookish Brainrot, Ray, Bree, Caitlin, Carlin, Cassandra, Catherine, Kathy, Chris, CJ, Cole, Colleen, Corwin, Corey, Darren, Deborah, Diet Goth, Dorian, Dorothea, Ebby, Elise, Ember, Emily A, Emily L, Emma, Aaron, Grace, Gracie, Hannah C, Hannah T, Harpy Kuro,
Joe, Hello There Darling, Alienaka, India Inks, JM Tennant, Jack of All Trades, Jay is on Olympus, JT, Jen with 2 N's, Jennifer, Jenny, Jillian, Jules, Kaylee, Kat, Katya, Kayala, Kendra, Kylie, Laughing Cat Dog, Laura, Lauren B, Library of Scars, Lisa B, Liz Cardigan, Luna Moth, Lustful Octopus, Martin, Marquita, Maz, Malara, Meow Meow, James, Nat, Natalie M, Never, Nicole G, Nicole R, Nyan Binary, Paige E, Paige P, Foxglove, Pixel Stars, Purathion, Rachel B, Raquel, Rat Sarah, Reba, Rebecca, Ren, Robin, Rowan, Other Rowan, Secoria, Sadie, Samantha, Sammy, Sarah H, Sarah the Bear, Scarlett, Shanae, Shannon, Shayna, Sheena K, Sean, Sierra, Stephanie, Talia, 3 Old Dogs, Tina, Toast, Trash Can Teddy, Tito Phoenix, Valentine, and Writer A. Thank you all so much for being a friend.